Hello fellow video game collectors. I was recently tagged by MightyQDawg and Jeremy3eb to pick my top 5 nostalgic games. Now, I find it to be pretty hard to narrow this list down to just 5 games, but I decided to focus on the console that I grew up with and relate to the most, the Super Nintendo. Now, there is no particular order to the games that I have selected because I often have a difficult time choosing one game over another. The first game I decided to pick is Mega Man X. So Mega Man X was the first game of Mega Man that I ever played. It was my introduction to the series, and honestly, I hadn't played much of the original Mega Man games until I picked up the recent Mega Man Legacy Collection for the 3DS. Now, I had a blast playing Mega Man X. I loved being able to choose which stage to play first, which, is nothing new to the Mega Man series, but it was to me as a child since I had not played a Mega Man game before. Finding power-ups on stages and unlocking new weapons so that I could become as powerful as Zero, who was just such an awesome character to look up to at the beginning of the game. The gameplay was fantastic. The music is just amazing. I also remember writing down the password grids to continue my game because, I died a lot in this game as a kid. I'm pretty sure that this was one of the first games that I beat for the Super Nintendo, and I'm so glad to still have my childhood copy of the game. The next game I selected was Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past. Now, the Super Nintendo was not my first home console system. I did have an NES and I did have the first Zelda game, but Link to the Past is the game that I most relate to when I think of the Zelda series. I loved exploring the vast world of Hyrule, diving into dungeons, solving puzzles that required me to use specific tools or weapons that you gain throughout the game. I remember the first time that I fought the wizard in this game. I believe his name is Agahim, or however you say it, in the Hyrule Castle. I was just completely startled by his battle strategy, as a kid. Him teleporting around, I had no idea what to expect. So, I also love seeing the Dark World for the first time. I love the idea of there being the exact same world, but, it's in darkness. The Dark World theme is probably one of my most favorite arrangements from the Zelda series. Unfortunately, I do not have my childhood copy of the game anymore. I recently got this copy from the Bearded Diver, which you will see in another video soon. I think someone borrowed my copy and just never gave it back, or I lost it. I don't know what happened to it. Another favorite game of mine, and I'm only going to mention it because it's a direct sequel, A Link Between Worlds for the 3DS. Playing that game by itself, coming from this game being one of my favorite games ever, it's just a nostalgic kick because it's based in the exact same world, and you explore a lot of the same areas again, and it's a fantastic game. Definitely pick up A Link Between Worlds if you like A Link to the Past. Next, I chose one of my all-time favorite RPGs, Final Fantasy III, also known as Final Fantasy VI. Unfortunately, I never owned a copy of the game. I ended up actually borrowing it from one of my friends, and I still have yet to buy a copy of it for the Super Nintendo, but I do have this copy here for the Game Boy Advance. Probably the one thing that I remember the most about this game, and this is a spoiler, a minor spoiler, but I remember the first time I played it and I left Shadow behind. Now, I didn't know, the first time I played this game that you could wait for him. And I was just so heartbroken by that choice, as, Shadow was probably, one of my favorite characters from that game. I never really got into Final Fantasy II, also known as 4 now. At that time, I played a little bit of of it. Again, I borrowed Final Fantasy 3 and Final Fantasy 2 from the same friend. I did play the original Final Fantasy on the NES, but this is the one that I fell in love with. It has such an engaging story and just a vast cast of playable characters. And because of this game, I am just such a huge fan of 16-bit RPGs, and I wish we could see more modern games that are made like the original Final Fantasy games, sort of like what Shovel Knight has done for the NES. Now, one of my favorite games for the system is hands down Secret of Mana. A wonderful action RPG. This game was awesome to play co-op with friends, and I did that multiple times as a kid, and again during college. My college roommate and I played through this game again. His first time, my fourth or fifth time playing through and beating the game. I really wish that I had the multi-tap for this game. I still don't have a multi-tap for the Super Nintendo, but you can actually play this game with 3 players, each person controlling each character in the game. But I always remember taking this game over to my friend's house and staying up late trying to get closer and closer to beating the game. I love the way fighting worked in the game, swinging your sword and waiting to regain your stamina or charging up for more powerful attack. Magic was cheap strategically in the game, since you could stack multiple magic attacks together for massive damage, and you could stun lock enemies, especially bosses. It's kind of cheap, but I enjoyed using the magic in the game. I had never played the game prior to this one, which is Final Fantasy Adventure for the Game Boy, but it is a good game. And I say that because, I have played it recently in recent years, but I didn't own it as a kid. And I really wish I did, because you can definitely see the roots of the Mana series in Final Fantasy Adventure. Now, I still want to get the sequel to this game, Secret of Mana 2, which was never released in the United States. But there are translated reproduction carts available, or, you can always get the ROM and play it in an emulator. I hear it's a really good game. Other games in a series that I just never found to be quite the same as this game in terms of quality and I guess what I felt most nostalgic for. Legend of Mana for the PlayStation. It's not a bad game, but I just didn't feel the same way about it as I did for Secret of Mana. And another one, Children of Mana for the DS. And I also didn't know until recently that there was a Mana game for the PlayStation 2, which is called Dawn of Mana. Let me know if that's any good, because I'm still trying to find a copy of it and I've never played it. And now, the last game I picked was none other than Chrono Trigger. What can I say about this game? It's a fun RPG, the first of its kind to have battles that happen on the same screen that you run around on. And what I mean by that is it's not like Final Fantasy where there's a separate battle screen, because as you encounter enemies, they just kind of come up to you and you start your battle. It has a great cast of characters who have these combination tech attacks and triple tech attacks that they can use to work together to do even more powerful attacks. And it has time travel. Plus it has this really awesome character who goes by the name of Magus, a recruitable and powerful bad guy. And it's a pretty short game, so it has tons of replayability. There's I don't know, 15 or more different endings to this game. Most of them you can only get to by doing the New Game Plus. And if you're looking for a copy of this game, this one's, it's pretty expensive to get the Super Nintendo cart, but definitely pick up the DS version of the game if you've never played it before, because 1, it's a lot cheaper, and 2, it's portable, so you can play Chrono Trigger anywhere. And they added a couple extra things into the game. I know there was this monster raising thing, and I believe there's an additional dungeon in the game. And if you don't even want to play it on DS, there is a mobile version of it. Secret of Mana as well has a mobile app. So those are my picks for my top 5 nostalgic games. You know, I could go on and on with other games and systems for sure. So that's why I limited myself to just the Super Nintendo. Tell me in the comments below about your top 5 nostalgic games, Super Nintendo or otherwise. Now, as for tagging others, I'm sure that most other people have already been tagged at this point, but I don't think these folks have been tagged yet. So I'd like to tag Console Kev, Retro Cynical, Nintendo 13, Doge Productions, RetroHunterK, and you. Yes, you, the person watching this video right now. Make a video response, because you know I want to see what games you picked. So if any of you do decide to make a video, leave a comment down below with a link to your video so I and everyone else can check it out. So if you enjoyed my picks, or you know, even if you didn't, be sure to give the video a like. Don't forget to leave a comment down below. Tell me about your top 5 picks of nostalgic games, and be sure to subscribe. And remember, you gotta get the power up to beat the game.